Hey guys, as promised, I've got my conversations with comedians Myq Kaplan and Cauvin that I taped live, I believe, on Thursday. Maybe it was Friday. Either way, both great conversations, and I think you're really going to enjoy them. And I wanted to share them here in audio form. You can watch them on Substack and YouTube. My conversation with Myq Kaplan is interesting as always. We talked about his new stand-up comedy special, Men v. Men, which you should watch. It's very, very funny. And we talked all about men. And I love the conversation about gender and men, especially when we're talking about guys our age. So it was really interesting and funny and thoughtful as always. And that is coming up at 38 minutes. But first, my conversation with Cauvin. He wants you to go check out Dictator for a Day, which you can find in the links in today's show notes. And of course, see him live whenever you get the opportunity and support him on Patreon and on CAmeo and everywhere else. Always a great conversation. We talked with JL about voting rights and so much more. So let's do it right now.
I was going to tell you right now, you got to get Steve Vladeck on the show.
Yeah, I've had Steve Vladeck on.
You have?
Not the podcast. I talked to him quite a bit on the old SiriusXM show. He's got a funny voice. He's got a voice twin. Who is it? I forget. But yeah, he's very smart. He's one of the most respected con law scholars in the country. But why do you like him?
The Shadow Docket book was just breathtaking to me because it was it's a rare gift. And I know Jeffrey Toobin had his scandal, but he is obviously a gifted legal writer. It's rare the people who can write about legal things in like a very accessible, engaging way. And what Vladeck did for the Shadow Docket, which is a little more arcane, made it completely readable. Like I just thought his book was just so great on that very important topic.
They just had that whole New York Times article, investigative article too, that revealed so much more. But yeah, the Shadow Docket by Stephen Vladeck, great con law scholar himself. And yeah, we were talking about the Voting Rights Act continuing to be gutted, destroyed today, and we'll come back to that with you. But happy birthday. Thank you for joining me. How you doing?
Thanks.
Yeah.
I feel old. 47 is the first time I've actually just been, maybe it's because it's such a weird number. It's not a milestone. It's not a particularly cool number. I started to feel like the end is near. Well,
if you keep buying ice cream, it looks like you bought a gallon of ice cream. You posted about it.
Yeah, I mean, because it was sort of a milestone. It combined two of my favorite things, ice cream and Entenmann's cookies. There's now an Entenmann's chocolate chip cookie ice cream.
Yeah, I think that's too much. I think that's too much ice cream. I think you should get a little tiny one. And then,
so you envision that I eat 1.5 quarts of ice cream in one sitting?
No, that would be monstrous. But yes, I thought about it immediately.
I love how being 6'7" to most of my friends has turned me into just some sort of Andre the Giant like figure. Like JL drank 800 beers in a sitting because he's very tall.
Did you ever think about wrestling?
I did in college when I was at my most jacked and my most hopeful about my comedy skills, like before I actually got into comedy. And I used to do impressions of different wrestlers during the Attitude Era. And because I was like 6'7", 245, if they'd given me steroids, I probably could have been like 285 and shredded. And you add on impressions. I said my character would be the Mimic. And I would come out and The Rock would be doing his mic thing. And then I'd come out like dressed up like The Rock, just doing The Rock, but being
it would have been great
version. And then Stone Cold, I had a really good Stone Cold. So like, yeah, I just, I was in college and, failing at college basketball. And I said, I can't give this up to chase an entertainment dream. Only an idiot would dedicate their life to pursuing entertainment. I'm a 20-year-old at Williams with my world of possibilities ahead of me.
Speaking of negativity, I wanted to make it a little worse. I noticed yesterday, Matt Friend got to meet the king, and I immediately texted you to see if you might have been in a good mood, if I could ruin that for you, because there's nobody better at impressions than you. I've said it many times.
Well, the ones I do, I'm very good at. And I say this, I always say this. Matt Friend and I don't know each other. Yeah. Matt Friend has some impressions that he does that are incredible. But I always think a panderer does what the algorithm wants them to do. An artist does what they're best at. I happen to be best at what's kind of hot, the Trump, the MAGA, the sort of political impressions. I try to do other impressions that I'm very good at, and the results are always like bad in terms of views and reaching people. Like my John Bernthal is an example of one I really love doing. It never generates
I've ever seen your John Bernthal.
Yeah,
wow.
It never generates the buzz I want, but I keep doing it because I'm good at it, and it's not a lot of nobody really does one.
Why don't you do what Matt Friend does? Is he approaches these celebrities on the street and then does his impression to their face? Why don't you do that? Why don't you go annoy John?
Because John Bernthal will punch me in the face.
Maybe not. Maybe he'll love it. He seems like a nice guy.
He's got those two speeds. He's got the like, hey man, so we're doing this podcast with Pete. Pete, brother, I love what you're doing. It's very, it's very good what you're doing. It's exciting. It's exciting. I'm a pumped up actor, LA style. And then I get on screen and I'm very intense. I'm the Punisher right now. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Rick, hey. If that encapsulates the
nobody cares about
Jekyll and Hyde. Nobody cares. A few people care.
I saw the new Punisher trailer yesterday, so it's fresh in my mind. Bernthal.
Yeah. There it is. That is 40% of the script of the
People
Punisher.
Are still talking about Pod Jam 3 and all that went on, but what's getting a lot of attention is your RFK impression. People really were very impressed. And just your ability, obviously, to improv was so funny. And I hope that sharing those videos, I hope that I imagine they got millions of views because they're
the RFK, of course, as you would imagine, it's like, this is good, but it's not what we allow you to be successful at. We are the social media algorithm. So the RFK gets like 12,000 hits, and then my next Trump gets 90,000, regardless of quality. It's a very frustrating thing. But it was great to see. Like when I saw Matt Friend just meeting the king, I said, when is this going to stop? Like, what is this? There's a thing in hip hop when people talk about industry plants, meaning like you didn't come up organically. The demand was not so much for you as it was foisted upon the public. And sometimes I just stay and without being as objective as I can, just observing him as a person who consumes content and entertainment. I do have this kind of, why? Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like that's really my question is why. And it's, removing myself from it personally. It's just kind of like, why am I always seeing him at all these things?
Have you thought about exploring mentalism? You would be good at that.
I think that guy Oz Perlman, or as I call him, Oz Perlman. I think he is incredible at what he does, like truly incredible. But I wanted him to do the mentalist thing on Trump and just be like, is this what your paper says? And just have it say like, I rape teenagers. And what a reveal that would be. And Trump is like, unbelievable. That's exactly what I wrote down. That's exactly. How did he do that?
I wanted to ask you about, and I've been, pretty outraged about a lot of people on the left, including my most explicitly, my friend Dino Bidala, trafficking in conspiracy theories around what happened last Saturday night at the White House Correspondents Association. I'm pretty obsessed with it. Some people are telling me I shouldn't be, but my point is that it's really bad. Conspiracy theories are very pernicious. They do a tremendous amount of damage in so many different ways. And when people who have platforms that are kind of on the left, that are progressives, who've been calling them out forever, are now perpetuating them, that's not a good place to be. And so I've tried to push back on as much as I can. But what are your thoughts about, how so many people went right to this false flag? Everybody's saying, well, they lie so much, we don't know what's true. I'm like, we still do. They're really bad. Yeah. They're really bad at everything. He's terrible at keeping.
This is true. But first of all, I do have to call you out for not getting me on CNN as a biracial cross-country Amtrak rider who hates Trump. The fact that this biracial man took the Amtrak from California to D.C., I mean, this is the kind of thing that I would expect to be called in on as like the premier kind of expert.
Can you imagine if CNN was like, someone who might have a understanding to the shooter is someone who looks like him and also takes the train? You don't look like him, but that guy is,
no, I don't.
That guy, is he biracial? It looks biracial, but I don't know.
He will be played by, I think, the guy who was on Grey's Anatomy. The guy who was on Grey's Anatomy, the light-skinned guy who dated Derek Jeter's ex. She's an accomplished actress, but I like to refer to women by whichever man dated them as their primary identifier.
All right. So what about the
conspiracies? Yeah.
What do you think are the most important points? We don't have to spend a lot of time.
Right-wing conspiracy theorists. Okay, I'll be a little biased. Right-wing conspiracy theorists are dumb fucks who want to believe nonsense. Left-wing conspiracy theorists, because like your friend Dino Badala, who's a fairly mainstream presence and thinker, and I would say you don't think of him as some kook who's always buying into conspiracy. Like he and Alex Jones are not the same people in terms of their availability to conspiracy theory thinking. Donald Trump has done that. Like the thing is, Donald Trump, everything that when they say the left is violent rhetoric, the left is calling him a fascist, that's violent rhetoric. He is a wannabe tyrant. So you have to realize the context is not the same when the left makes an accusation against him that may be outrageous. The man himself is outrageous. There's the difference. With conspiracy thinking, I have said this, the Butler, Pennsylvania shooting, I always tell people this. I believe it was a real shooting. I also believe that the one person that I believe would be willing to have a supporter of his own shot, that would be willing to pose for photos and have an epic historical ego boosting moment like this would be Trump. Would he put himself in harm's way of getting shot? No. And that's where it becomes so the conspiracy is false. But the man is the reason why he wasn't a Russian asset. Oh, he just did 19 things that looked like a Russian asset. So even if he wasn't a Russian asset, he's the example of if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck. Oh, in this case, he's not actually a duck, but he's doing a great impression of a fucking duck. And that's what he is. Like conspiracy theories to me on the right are always these like malevolent, we don't trust people. We don't like people. We don't like this. Donald Trump is the reason why someone like Dino Badala would have, if not a smoking gun, 4 or 5 legitimate reasons to be like, no, I think Donald Trump is of the character and the motivation to do these kind of pernicious things. You would argue it's his capability that makes these things, his lack of ability that makes these things unlikely, but his character is that of someone who would do this. Whereas you would never say that about Joe Biden or Barack Obama or honestly, George W. Bush. Like these are not the same kind of character people that would do this. I'm not saying the conspiracies are real. I am saying that Donald Trump gives so much more meat on the bone to at least entertain conspiracies. Versus I'm making this out of whole cloth because I just distrust or dislike people.
Yeah. I think that's great analysis. And I think it's super helpful way to understand it, especially the difference between kind of the right and left and why or who they trust. But at the same time, I could argue a lot of it. I don't want to belabor it anymore. It just makes no sense to me for even a moment that they would or could pull off such a thing or would want to even.
Let me ask you a question. Before you saw any of the details of what happened, would you blame someone for going, okay, Trump's approval ratings are in the shitter. He got a boost from Butler.
Yeah, I would blame. I mean, would I blame them? I don't want to do that. I want to, be too harsh.
Yeah.
The reason that I would think that it's crazy is because the very first thing I think all the time is this is the most hated man in the world, and I'm never, ever surprised when people want to or try to harm him.
Sure.
Of course they do. That's been the case for every hated man and every world leader, even if they weren't hated by as many people. But this guy, my first impression is I can't believe there hasn't been more. attempts because, especially now with what we've learned about the Epstein files, and I think there's some pretty good reporting, and it looks like this guy's manifesto is a lot of like Christians do not like what he is doing, comparing himself to Jesus and all that, think he's the Antichrist if they're on the fringe and we're washing guns. I'm never ever thinking about that Trump would come up with these schemes. I think it's weird to give him that much credit because I really truly believe, and you can tell me what you think, obviously you're smarter than I am on this, you live in his head. I don't think this guy makes big long plans about anything at all. I think he wakes up and every day is an episode of The Apprentice and he tries to manipulate that day's news cycle. He posts at a certain time, he says certain things, but so much of it backfires within the moment, much less the next day.
Sure.
He would plan out something like this. He can't even plan his war. He wants out of this war so bad because it went exactly like people who make plans said it would go.
Right. I would just say he'd be like, in just playing devil's advocate, it's not that he's the plan maker, but if somebody delivers him a plan, like somebody smarter or more manipulative that has a plan, a Project 2025 was a plan. Trump came up with none of it.
I still think even with that, you're saying he'd be like, yeah, go ahead and do that. I don't think he would because I think this sounds stupid. I think he thinks, like you said, he wouldn't put himself ever in harm's way. But then more importantly than anything else, and no one seems to be able, and then we'll leave it alone, I promise you, but I'm obsessed. Who are these shooters?
Jerry Seinfeld.
Tell me how you're getting these people to target the president. How? Is it the Bourne Identity? Are they paying him off? Are they blackmailing him? Is it the Israelis? Is it Al-Qaeda? No, it's never that. And why would it be? And if it was the Israelis or Al-Qaeda or the Trump administration, why do they pick the worst assassins ever? Because they want them to fail? I don't think. Why would they not kill him if he was in on it? They would kill them like they killed the kid in Butler, but they didn't. That kid and this kid and the rest of them are just what it looks like, in my opinion. I have no question about any of it at all. It all makes perfect sense. Occam's razor. This guy's the worst at keeping it secret.
Right. Says the guy who probably thinks the moon landing was real.
I don't think the moon landing was real. That was obviously fake, but I saw the soundstage where they did it, and I talked to Buzz Aldrin.
Did you talk to Buzz Aldrin?
That was my greatest / worst moment at Sirius.
Wow.
You'll love it. You don't know about the Buzz Aldrin moment? I did interview him, and Chris Hosselt, my old producer, asked him a question, and and Buzz misinterpreted it and got offended. And he snapped at Chris, and then Chris got defensive. He's like, I wasn't telling you. I was asking you. He's like, don't tell me I don't tell you how to play. The clip is still out there. Yes, but no, Buzz Aldrin, there's also a video of Buzz Aldrin punching a conspiracy theorist to accuse him of not walking on the moon. You've seen that. Right, yeah. And my nephew went to Buzz Aldrin Middle School in Montclair, New Jersey. Buzz Aldrin, big MAGA. No. Yeah. No. I'm almost positive. I'll look it up. I don't want to defame. Oh, my God. Yeah. No. I'm almost. I thought he made like a weird face at Trump at an event. Here it is. In 24. Worst of all, Apollo 11 astronaut Buzz Aldrin officially endorsed Donald Trump for president, citing the former president's proven policy accomplishments in space exploration. Aldrin, then 94, praised Trump for elevating space policy, creating the Space Force. Oh. Hey, can I be honest, though? Because I'm such a fan of the Apollo 11, I will say this. At least it's not a crypto or a tax reason. No, it's terrible. Don't get me wrong. But at least if he's a unique one-issue voter then. He's 94. Whoever's strongest on space gets my vote. That's a very small constituency, and I'll allow a man who walked on the moon to be a one-issue voter on space stuff. It's a very small demographic. You're polling a very tiny group there. People who've walked on the moon for whom space travel is their number one issue. Trump got 100% of that vote in 2024. You would think that a guy who had been targeted or centered in conspiracy theory his whole life wouldn't support the biggest conspiracy theorist in the world.
But maybe when he got up there and saw that blue marble, he said, "Isn't amazing from up here? We're all one. You can't even tell there's filthy blacks down there."
How funny was it when...
I just always love the beautiful moments sullied by, like, imagine if Buzz Aldrin were just up there saying racist shit to Neil Armstrong and we have no idea about it. It's like amazing, poetic moment.
I noticed that at one point Waj in Vegas said you were white.
He did. I let it slide.
When people don't know that your father was black and your mother is white, do you correct? When would you correct?
I
them?
play Three Dog Night black and white for them.
You have it on just ready?
It's a ringtone. Dun, 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 dun,
What
dun.
that means?
A child is black. A child is white. Three Dog Night, by the way, belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
As a result of Trump reading the Bible last week, you did your Trump impersonation and also asked people to revisit, rather, your 2021 web series, Trump Bible Study, which is very funny.
It is outstanding. That I'm very proud of that web series.
He seems like a very pious guy.
You know, he's an instrument of the Lord, Pete.
What do you make of him going after Jimmy Kimmel again for the joke? Your friend and mine, he's not mine, but you were on his show that Kimmel used to be on with, what's his name?
No, I was on the Adam Carolla show a bunch.
Well, yeah, no,
not Kimmel, yeah.
No, but Carolla, I saw a video of Carolla weighing in on Jimmy Kimmel's roast joke about Donald Trump, that Trump and others are saying Melania started it, I guess, that he should be fired. ABC should fire him. The joke was an old trope about attractive women married to old rich men, that they can't wait till they die. Joan Rivers mastered it from the reverse. But regardless, what do you think of that joke and again, another call to fire Jimmy Kimmel? This is going nowhere, right? Because Disney would never do it, right? They would lose way too many subscribers to their Disney Plus.
Sure, but I guess isn't Brendan Carr now going to try to use the power of the FCC or look into their licenses or something?
Yeah, that too.
But it was a joke, and then they try to retroactively, because people are dumb, so they'll try to retroactively make it like the joke was told, minutes whispered in the ear of the would-be assassin or told after the attempt on his life. They didn't elevate it before. So I think it's a bunch of bullshit. And the Melania, just shut up. I mean, they can all shut up, but like Melania, I look at Melania the way I look at one of my favorite basketball players, John Stockton, who said nothing for his entire career, and then during the pandemic became a very vocal, outspoken anti-vaxxer. And I said, "Now you talk?" And that's how I feel about Melania. It's like, just be the beautiful sphinx of, hate and prenuptial agreements that you were for most of your life. Don't start being an advocate for your piece of shit husband now.
Did you see that video? Is it real, of them yesterday with the king, and he's holding hands with her and she pulls her hand out of his? I mean, I've seen her do that before, but never know what to believe. But
that's her move. That's her patented, because he doesn't like consent. So that's actually foreplay. That's her going, "No." And he goes, "You know what? You know how I love it when you say no, right, darling?"
Try not to laugh at it, but it's so true.
Yeah, it's funny because it's true. That's an example of it's funny because it's true. Like I believe easily their intercourse. Everybody, are you thinking I'm saying it technically, so you really have to think of the thrusting and the full-on unclothing and grinding and body fluids and sweat. And tears, obviously, of them having intercourse. I believe, non-consensual is their kink, his kink, and she agrees to it.
Do not like it.
Yeah, me neither. I don't like it.
Trying to find that video of Trump with the king yesterday, and a bunch of people waiting to shake their hands, and he shakes all their hands and kind of bodies the king out, and the king just walks away and doesn't shake anybody's hands. Trump did you see that video?
I didn't.
Oh, it's so good. I got to go find it.
I was in court fighting evictions of poor people, Pete.
Oh.
Sorry, I wasn't seeing all the content. I'm trying to be the change I want to see in the world. Some podcast tells me that often.
Oh. He's such a dick. Here it is. I think I can do it. Well,
and if I'm coming in grainy, it's because I decided to do this by natural light, like the ancestors of podcasting. So as it gets darker, so am I.
No, you look good. You look fine. Tell people about Dictator for the Day, which just dropped.
Yeah, we did this show with this musical in Manhattan in October 2024. It was one of the most enjoyable experiences of my life. And did you want me to stop to watch the video?
Go ahead.
It's a horrible way to plug a product.
Sorry, go ahead.
We filmed this musical off Broadway, and they put it together, and it's been available on some pay platforms for a little bit, but it's now free on Tubi. It's called Dictator for a Day. If you like my Trump and you want to see something that was incredibly prescient, filmed before the Trump second presidency, that really goes on to predict some of the most easily predictable and then some of the most outrageous things that have happened so far. And it's a funny and fun show. And it's free right now on Tubi. You can, if you don't want the commercials on Tubi, you can rent it for like $3 on YouTube or Apple TV, but it's free on Tubi. So we're hoping we can get a lot of people watching it, now that it's just gone up, if we can get like a good boost. So if by like Saturday or Sunday, you could watch it, everybody who's listening, that would be awesome.
There you go. I'll put a link in the show notes to it.
Thank you.
And just look up Dictator for a Day. You can find it as well there. All right. Here now is the video for people watching live or on YouTube is it playing? It's not playing. He's shaking everybody's hands.
Wow.
And the king never gets to shake anyone's hand. And then the king just finally turns away. He tried to get in. Trump is a pig, like in every way. You know what I mean? Like there's not an ounce of grace, even by accident, from that guy. Do you think the same team that put Australian flags up on the posts in Washington, D.C. to welcome the British king could have also pulled off a false flag? It's a double entendre there. They put up a false flag, and they're supposed to pull off a false flag. That's how dumb they are. That's why it's crazy for any smart person to think that they could do that. They can't do anything. They fail all the time, every day. They're going after James Comey now. What do you think of that? That is so cringe. Like, even people on the right, Trump supporters, like, what are you doing? You already failed. You're going to fail again. And James Comey's just sitting home making videos. Have you done a Comey impression yet?
I haven't yet, but it's, height-wise, we match. But I don't have a Comey yet. It's very plain, very vanilla yogurt.
Your legal mind, your lawyer, what do you think of this newest indictment? They can't even indict people, but they did indict him. What's going to happen?
Well, the Second Amendment doesn't guarantee the right to Instagram posts.
That's a good point.
Okay. Guns don't kill people. Instagram photos of other people's seashell decorations kill people.
That was like some lady, some white lady, some No Kings lady, God bless them all, I'm glad they're all there, who did that seashells. And he was just walking past. He didn't even assemble them. Meanwhile, now everybody
Banksy.
Everybody's asking the new attorney general and angry Kevin Arnold's dad lookalike,
Todd Blanche, the worst of the Golden Girls.
They're showing him how many people threaten, Biden, how Trump shared an image of Biden that people were putting on the back of their pickup trucks where Biden was tied up. Trump, he shared it. Yeah. Trump shared it.
Yeah, but that's different, Pete.
Why? It's an image.
If you don't know, then I can't tell you.
Okay.
I'm auditioning to try and maybe join the third Trump administration right now. No answers plus indignity equals a Trump press conference answer.
So let me ask you about what happened today at the Supreme Court. You've been working. I'm not sure how much you followed.
I know what happened, but I haven't had a chance to read about it. But I do know that John Roberts, this is John Roberts. I'm going to call this is John Roberts' white woman moment, to sort of paraphrase a Paul Mooney joke. John Roberts has kind of coasted on Alito and Thomas are the real scumbags, and Trump put these religious right figures on the court. But Roberts is a different, Roberts is an old school Republican and an old school conservative. Like, he believes in the function and the stature of the court and its place as an umpire and not a political branch. But he's had a hard-on since the 80s for the Voting Rights Act. Like, this is his. Amy Coney Barrett gets abortion. Clarence Thomas gets black people. And Alito gets humanity. And Roberts gets to hate the Voting Rights Act. And he was wrong. And I believe it might have been Ginsburg who said, claiming that you have an umbrella and therefore it's not raining, so we don't need the umbrella anymore. Yep. He has hated the Voting Rights Act for a long time. And it takes a particular piece of shit to be only like 15 years post Voting Rights Act to be like, this bag of shit needs to go. That was him in the Reagan administration. So it's not like he came to this moment, in the 2020s where he's like, I think it's run its course. You could make that argument if you want, but he's had it in for this since it was just basically becoming an effective tool to help.
An elected leader, and all of the elected people voted, all of them in the Senate, 98-0 in 2006 to reaffirm and reauthorize the Voting Rights Act. It was not a controversy then, but it certainly was to Justice Roberts, who shortly thereafter was appointed to the court, Shelby County, and we went through it all with David Daley and Eric Siegel up to today.
But it's once again the best way
to Congress, and then they're like, well, Congress can fix it. Okay.
The best way to prove that racism is over is to give racists the tools to do racist things. And that's what the Roberts Court has done.
And they immediately are doing them.
Of course.
Passing laws to marginalize black voters and black districts. Immediately. They did it after Shelby County. And then today, they did it today in Florida. And now Mississippi and Tennessee are going to do it.
Roberts probably goes home to his wife and she rubs his bald spot and he's got that. You gave up, but in a respectful way. You just got rid of it. He has that that yarmulke of skin on top of his head. But he goes home and he goes, darling, do you think they'll maybe give me a few weeks so it doesn't look so feckless and like they're cucking me? And she's like, absolutely not. You haven't even eaten dinner yet. They've already done it. On your drive home from the court, they cucked you.
Those states that are passing those laws. Yeah.
Yeah. But this is what America voted for.
All right. What else?
Well, now it's getting real dark. I'm going to see if my tech, because now it's getting dark because it's getting like rain cloudy outside. It's getting prematurely dark. Oh, do you see that?
Did you see Pete Hegseth today?
No, my working lunch with him is usually on Fridays. Why?
Clips of him testifying in front of the House.
Was it good? Was he defiant and douchey?
Yeah, but I think a lot of people got a lot of punches in. The smartest one was when a congressman basically pointed out that one of his top advisors hates Donald Trump.
Oh, that's nice.
It was a pretty good strategy. So Trump would be like, you got a guy who hates me? You know what, Pete? Go fuck yourself. That's clearly what he was
saying. I think Pete Hegseth is my least favorite cabinet member.
Go ahead.
Like, explain?
Yeah, why would you say? I mean, it's either him, RFK.
No, it's just Pete Hegseth is like Pete Hegseth. I don't know what he's ever done that I would be like, oh, that's cool. Like RFK, somewhere in his life was an environmental lawyer, cared about some important things, tried to work towards some things. Pete Hegseth is all of the bad things with a bad, like racist, the tattoos, the Cobra Kai bro frat energy that is so distasteful
for all the women ever in his life, including his mom.
Yeah, I love the Colin Jost interpretation of Pete. I really do. It's on SNL. It's like one of my favorite things.
Why was so great about it?
He's turned him into a 90s bro. Like Papa Roach will play when he comes on stage. He'll quote Limp Bizkit. Like it's subtle. It's like little things that date him as like you never moved past when you were 22 in 1999. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like that kind of it's a very funny interpretation, and it's probably very true. But and then there's the idea of like, I think there was an alert today that they're still killing like the Venezuelan.
Oh, yeah, there's been
reporting today.
Over 100.
More. Yeah. And there's we're going to have like accountability on top of accountability to deal with because they're racing the crimes they're doing, and they're like lapping themselves. So it's like, is there even enough time left for us to do thorough, like if we're being practical, to do thorough, honest investigations of all the crimes? But he just seems, I find him really the most distasteful of everyone. And I will say something that's very rare for me. Donald Trump has moments, where I think we talked about it with Rod on the Blackout Tips in Vegas, where it's like, you'll get fooled. He'll trash somebody you hate, and you'll be like, well, Trump's got a point there. I never find myself ever going, good one, Pete Hegseth, or, right. Well, he's got a point, or, you know what, got to give him his due on that one. Like never. Like he's 0 for 1,000.
I was sure you were going to say, good one, Pete Hegseth and Dominic.
I know why I threw the Hegseth in because I didn't want to leave an opening for you to make a joke about it being about Pete Dominic.
I'm 3 for 79 with you. So I think
pretty good. That is good. A terrorist and a Pete Dominic only needs to be right once.
That's right. Happy birthday. Thank you for joining me. Everybody go watch Dictator for a Day. I'll put a link in the show notes. Other plugs, anything else that you want to mention? JL?
No, right now, if you have any New Jersey listeners, which I know you do, I'm headlining in Newark on Friday, May 1st. So if you got nothing to do, come on out to the Newark Culture Club. It's a new venue that a comedian named Justin Williams actually opened after running a show in Newark for like over a decade. He's got his own like little sort of music comedy club now in Newark. Very cool. So come out to that, please. Friday, May 1st, 8 p.m.
And that is all I have for you tonight. Thank you, JL, for being here. And thank you for watching live, everybody. And I will talk to you later. Bye. All right, there goes JL Cauvin. And now it's time to move to my second conversation with another very funny, smart, thoughtful comedian. It's Myq Kaplan. You should check out his new special, 10v10, and all of the other things that we talk about and plug. You can get to all of Myq's stuff in the show notes as always. Let's do it right now with the always hilarious, irreverent, ecstatic, all over the place and in one place, Myq Kaplan. There he is. Oh, my God. Myq Kaplan. The world has gone crazy. Yesterday, we lost more voting rights that we gained in 1960 something. And there's a fake assassination that people think is fake. And now everybody on the left is a conspiracy theorist. I've lost my mind, and I need to laugh about all of these things and more things. So I'm excited to see Myq Kaplan, who is not only one of the best comedians working, but one of the best men I know. And he's got a new mini special out. It's called Men v Men, he called it. And it's 10 minutes long, and everybody should go watch it. Taping a new special in Minneapolis in May 6th through 9th at one of the best comedy clubs in the country, Acme. Is that right? Do I have it all right, Myq?
You nailed it. Thank you so much for having me. It was great to talk to you. I'll see you later.
Bye-bye.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much for the kind words. That is all true. That the Men versus Men mini special is through the Don't Tell comedy people who are great. I love them. They put out lots of great things from many comedians on the spectrum of known to unknown, I'd say with an emphasis on the un. And And so I'm really grateful to get to work with them. And that was a fun special to do. And then, I'm recording a new one at Acme as we record next week, May 6th through 9. And this one is, it's going to be called tentatively an alphabet album at Acme, or an abbreviation, inspired by what's going on. It's going to be an hour of 26 jokes, one for each letter of the alphabet.
Oh my God. You just needed to make things harder for you. Comedy got too easy.
It's fun. I like the alphabet. It was, I do themed shows for the most part these days. Like, I'm always working on an hour that's about something, not necessarily like a Mike Birbiglia style narrative, like moth storytelling type deal, but something of a theme, be it, my relationship with my girlfriend, my grandmother who just died, the concept of masculinity, the idea that I don't want kids, that like always I'm doing some big idea. What's the big idea? And in between, though, I keep writing jokes that don't go along with any of the themes that I'm working on. And so for this one, I was like, well, here comes another hour of jokes that don't go together necessarily, except what if they all started with a different, like, I was like, oh, I have a joke that starts with Z. I'm like, I can find all the high level Scrabble tile scores, and so it was a fun thing to put together over the past little while.
Comedian Myq Kaplan is my guest, and one thing you're not doing your part in is procreation. Let's talk about men and the different types of men. Your new special is really funny. I like to talk about male stuff, our issues. I like to talk with men about their problems. I like to talk about my problems. I like to talk about midlife crises and how men are dying of loneliness and hypermasculinity, and why that is, and why I feel emasculated sometimes, like when my neighbor tried to show me how to use my weed whacker by wrapping his arms around me like a little league coach helping a boy bat. It was awful. And I felt emasculated. Myq, why? Why did I feel that way? What has culture conditioned me to be? Because I identify as a pretty average guy.
That sounds like a great identity. For me, I think obviously like our society, is patriarchy, that is these days getting like, there's some aspects of it. I feel like it's not a monolith or a manolith, as it once might have been, because there's all kinds of, the younger generations have many more, have much more access to like different role models and ways of being and language for the ways to be, as opposed to like, I don't know, when you grew up it was probably just John Wayne, right? That was it. And like, yeah. We're the same age. Yeah. But the idea that like, even when I was growing up, I was born in 1978, growing up in the 80s, like, I feel like people were like, so you'll do sports because you're a boy. And I was like, can I collect the baseball cards? They're like, close enough. And I think that I lucked out in a way by being like the size and shape that I am, which is like, I'm 5'6" now, full grown. I'm 47. I don't think it's gonna get any taller. But there's like the messages, the not so secret, not so hidden messages of society that to be quote unquote a man, a capital MAN man, it involves all being physically strong and big and like not fearing anything, and whatever these things are. And the idea that a man, like, let's say, has to be tall, like there's, in the heteronormative dating scene, like there are still women who are like, I want a taller man. And that's, for me, like, I'm like, that's one thing that I literally can't be. And so like growing up, like I was like, well, I'm definitely different in height. So it can't be that I'm supposed to be. It can't be that I have to be that. I can't fit into a mold. Right. So I was lucky that I'm like, well, I'm not going to. Then are there other ways that I also can't and or don't want to?
It's like because you were small and skinny or whatever, like because of your body shape, it didn't lend itself to necessarily being great at sports. And that stuff weeds itself out when we're pretty young. I remember there's this one kid who was so much better than the rest of us when we played t-ball. He played pitcher, and if the ball went anywhere near him, he got it and he ran you down on the first baseline, just humiliating you. I was just talking about it with a friend the other day. Did that happen? I was like, yeah. That guy was like that. He turned into a great athlete in high school, and he always was that guy. But we knew that in first grade. And so in your case and other young boys' cases increasingly now, there are other things you can do. As a matter of fact, anything, things that girls do. And God forbid, right? Like things have changed probably for the better. And by the way, you don't even have to be a boy anymore. If when you're younger, you feel more like a girl, you could say, I want to be a girl for a while. And then your parents can be confused and maybe upset by it and have to go on the internet and look up how to raise that and understand it and so on. But increasingly things have changed for the better, but yet the patriarchy reigns as we continue to see, certainly here in America, and day in and day out.
Yes. And two things. One, of course, we now know that like boy and girl, man and woman, are not necessarily the only options, the only choices. Like there's biological sex, which is one thing. And it's not even that everyone has XY chromosome or XX chromosome. There's XXY, XYY, there's intersex people. There are intergender people. And so gender and sex are not, a one-to-one corresponding concept set.
I bet you mine are more male than yours.
You got more Y's, I feel like, for the manliest men, it's like, why, and
I have so many Y's. I went bald. I lost my hair.
And
you pretty late and lost my hair early. What kind of man am I?
You look wise. So you're a wise guy. But here's the thing too. I don't mean to say that I'm, because of my experience, because of the fact that I wasn't like dominating on the football field, say, I still wanted to be like the best ping pong player. I still wanted to be the best guy arguing on the internet for a time. I consider myself like a recovering argumentaholic. I think that the insidious, because here, real quick thing. I know like people talk about toxic masculinity, and just to separate it out, to say it is not masculinity per se that is toxic, but there is, a toxicity that can come along with masculinity that is like everything else, a spectrum. And just the other day, somebody posted on Threads, my addictive social media platform of choice. Somebody posted, "Hey, atheists, what do you think happens to your consciousness after you die?" And I used to be an atheist. Now I'm like, why do we have to talk about it? But I don't, that's just a little fun joke I do on stage sometimes, but also in conversation, it applies. So before I get into the main thrust of it, a thing that I really like is I heard Alan Watts talking once about a Zen master or a Buddhist teacher who was once asked, "Do you believe in God?" And the Zen or Buddhist teacher responded, "If you do, I don't. And if you don't, I do." And so I really feel like so many things in life are not this or that. Things are, some combination of this and or that, the Schrodinger's cat of it all. Like the fact that we are not just one thing. We're not only one age. We're not necessarily only one gender presentation at every moment of our lives. We all contain within us the masculine and the feminine. Anyway, so I wrote back to this person. They said, "What happens to your consciousness after you die?" I said, maybe the same thing that happened before you were alive. That like imagine there's an ocean and like the wave comes out of the ocean and exists for a while and then goes back into the ocean. And also the wave was part of the ocean the whole time. And that is my sort of metaphor for what consciousness is like. And then a lot of people responded positively and a few people responded in different ways. And there's one particular back and forth that I got into that will be relevant to this, because they were trying to talk me into they're trying to, sort of put me in a box and be like, "So you believe this or you believe that?" And they had a religion that they were pitching. They were like, "My way is the right way." And I was like, "I'm glad that you found the right way for you. And I believe that I have the path that I'm on for me, that I'm open to learning about all that's out there." And in conclusion of this long rambly rant, they eventually, I said what I had to say. And I was like, "I think we've done it." And then they said to me, "Come on, don't give up now, mate. Don't fold now." And I was like, have you heard this? If you turn the tables on someone, you're still at the table. And so in this, I wasn't even conceiving of us of having an argument that I was trying to win, but in the framing of winning, I'm like, I win for myself by doing what I believe, just being who I am and what I want to be, not trying to convince this person to see things my way, even though my way contains my way is find your way, my way. And this person's like, no, my way is.
It accommodates yours as well. It's okay. As long as, by the way, you're not hurting people.
Yes.
Or taking people's rights, which is unfortunately a lot of how people hijack their beliefs.
Yes.
But their religious beliefs. Let me ask you this. It's interesting because being a stand-up comedian, I was in the trenches a long time. And you walk into a room and you gravitate towards certain type of people. And that's the same in any gathering, I suppose. I don't know why I need to specifically pick comedians, but because I know that you're in a lot of those rooms. And I'm wondering, what kind of men, if you could choose, you would gravitate towards, or that you are friends with. Or I could also see you walking over to just about anyone and kind of not even code switching, but feeling comfortable with, because you are so comfortable in your own skin. But if they didn't know who you were and didn't see you coming, so you're at some kind of event, you're a guest at or something, a wedding, I don't know. And do you have a type of guy? Because mine is, I have a type. It's Jews and blacks, because I know they're going to have humor. And I feel like the kind of guys I grew up with, my core guys were all funnier than me. But then a lot of other guys, not as funny or a different kind of humor. And so I was at an event recently where I met some new people, and it was like I could tell this guy was Jewish. I was like, this guy's humor, A, and B, there wasn't that kind of over masculinity either. And finally, it is a type of humor which often has an element of it of self-deprecation, which signals to me a certain sense of confidence or comfort, at least in your own whatever man vessel that is. So I described kind of my own, which gave you a long enough time that you didn't need to answer.
I was just listening in the moment. I wasn't thinking about what I was going to say next. Here's my type is also, it's not only Jews, but certainly some of my best friends in comedy, Zach Sherwin, Josh Gondelman, are people who literally went to Brandeis, where I went. Liz Glazer, a wonderful comedian who also is Jewish, not a man specifically, but does have jokes about her lesbian relationship, in which when she and her wife went to determine who was going to carry their child, if either of them, it was pretty I think one of her jokes is that the gynecologist said to Liz, "Are you ready to be a dad?" And
she's
I was just we're all on various spectrums. And I was at the comedy, I literally walked into the Comedy Cellar holiday party. They do their holiday party, months after the holiday, because the holiday time is so busy for shows and other things, or whatever reasons. And so just a few nights ago, I was at, they don't have shows at the Village Underground after 9 p.m. A few days ago. And, I go, and there's a ton of comedians that I know, and now even more comedians that I don't know, which is actually even nicer for a party. I'm like, I don't know you. I don't know you. I don't have to talk to you. I don't know this. I can talk to anyone. But I was talking with a friend, and they were saying oh, we were just talking about the kind of comedian that it would be surprising to learn didn't like you. And they're like, it would be surprising to learn that Ryan Hamilton doesn't like you. And they're like, and you, Myq, you're a person it would be surprising to learn. And here's the thing. I wonder if I ever told you this analogy. When I was growing up, and I still have it, I have this little safe, like a child, literally, could fit in your hands. You could fit hardly anything in it. And it has, a combination where you normally go this way, that way, this way to open the safe. Yeah. But this safe only had one number. The combination was the number 15. You just turn it to 15, you hit the open button, and it pops open. And so even if you don't know what number it is, if you have one of these safes and there's only one number, you can just hold down the open button and then spin the dial. Sure. And when it gets to the number, it'll pop open. Yeah. And I like to think of that as a metaphor for, in a way, the way, not only me, but the way that I am moving through life, with my finger held down on the heart open button. And then when I come across other people, I'm like spinning the dial of meeting people. And like you are also a person who, you know, you share openly of who you are and where you're at. And so that is why we connect, because even if we don't talk all the time, when we talk, there's nothing wrong with small talk. You get right into it. You're like, what is going on in the world, in your life, in your heart, in your mind, and you can connect with a person like that. And so I feel like those are the people that I feel, you know, that I gravitate towards. I'll talk to anyone, but when there's somebody who's like really open-hearted, open-minded, and, you know, like compassionate and loving and philosophical. And so, yeah, those are, and I think comedians are potentially, you know, there's many kinds of comedians. Comedians are also not a monolith. You know, you have the alt-right, Nazi-adjacent comedy verse out there. And so, but I mean, I can talk to them. I like wouldn't, you know, given a choice.
Do you ever, probably sticking with men mostly here, but we don't have to, but that's the theme. And I like talking about men and our issues. They're not monolithic. We're generalizing to a certain extent, but there's a lot of similarities. Do you not like? Can you openly be like, I don't like that guy? I mean, not that you would say it publicly, because you're not someone who likes to spread negative energy and so on. I'm not really so much either. I think I'm not as good as you maybe about that. But either way, do you personally say to yourself, or even a close friend, I really don't like that guy, and I try to avoid that guy? And for what? Is it personal or is it in general? Because as you said there, yeah, I know you can talk to anybody, but you don't want to with your limited time here in the universe. You're a guy who practices mindfulness. Do you want to spend time talking to that guy about whether or not Buzz Aldrin walked on the moon?
Great question. I mean, so absolutely there is a spectrum of liking within me. Like I have a joke I say sometimes, like I like people like I like movies. Not all of them. Like I like the genre. I'm like humanity. And I mean, I love humanity, and then individuals, you know, case by case. But also there's a story, and this will be about me, but there's a story of like a close to enlightened Buddhist teacher for whom, do you know this concept that for anyone who makes us feel like a certain way that we don't like feeling, be it irritation, frustration, anger, fear, like whatever it might be, like that comes up within us. Like in Buddhism, let's say, they could say that could be your greatest teacher. It could even be like a family member that, you know, you're like, yeah, why do they do this? And like, oh yeah, they're doing this, but for anyone else, it won't make them feel the way that you feel, because, you know, like people say about your parents, like they can push your buttons because they installed them. And so there are absolutely people who push my buttons more than other people. And I would say the reason is, it actually on theme with what we're talking about, it'll often be the kind of man who seems a little more like not faux aggressive, you know, like more aggressive, more like competitive. And I'm thinking of it now. Like I'm thinking of a specific person with whom I'm like, oh, because I don't like to not like people. It doesn't feel good.
Same.
It doesn't feel good. Like I never really use the word hate for myself, because I can also, you know, step back and zoom out and be like, there's a reason why this person is like this. There's a reason why we're all like, this person was a baby and they deserved love and they got some of it, and we all got what we got and didn't get what we didn't get. And some people are exploring that via therapy and introspection and or meditation or in whatever way they're doing it. And some people are, it seems like, I can't know what other people are doing, but some people, it seems like they're exploring it less. And I think sometimes exploring it less sometimes manifests as a different kind of argumentative, aggressive energy.
Well, I interrupted you, argumentative, aggressive energy, but I feel like you're giving people credit, maybe too much credit, on the spectrum of some people are exploring a lot in life, some people are exploring less, and then some people aren't exploring at all for different reasons. But let's, you know, give compassion to those who are just surviving and can't explore. which they should. Everybody should be able to find time, but they don't have the resources, mechanisms, teachers, mentors, books, whatever it might be. Do you feel like that's a fair spectrum? Like there are some people that aren't exploring like how to grow because they're just surviving. Many of us have been in that mode for at least a moment or a year or 3 years, 11 days, 2 months.
Absolutely. 100%. And I mean, I don't know that I'm giving, here's the thing. I don't know who I'm giving too much credit to or how much credit on the spectrum of credit that I'm giving, because I don't know what anyone else's, if it's a person who's not open, like for the person that I gravitate towards, I'm like, oh, I understand who you are because you're sharing it with me. I understand where you're coming from because you're open about it. For the people who are more closed off, for the people who are, I think that this is, not necessarily a one-to-one correspondence, but it seems likelier that if you don't open up, if you don't share with me, if you're not like in this way, then I don't know what's going on inside you. Maybe something. And so I'm like, I can only imagine or not think about it and be like, okay, well, probably something happened or many things happened, a series of, 1,000 cuts of micro trauma or one large one or many ones. And so to say I might be giving people, number one, I'd rather give people too much credit, because for me, and this is maybe another thing about my own ego, where I'm like, I would rather be the kind of person who errs on the side of being, here's some science behind it too. I watched, I like Brene Brown, and I remember her talking about they studied compassionate people, and they were like, what do compassionate people have in common? Like, some like monks and nuns and people like generally agreed by cross-cultural societies to be like, these are compassionate people. And the two things they had in common, they said, one, they had good boundaries. And two, they would be more likely to agree with the statement, this person is doing the best that they can. And so, like, let's say, and maybe the best that they can isn't someone that you want to hang out with. Maybe it's somebody that you need to leave a relationship with because they're not treating you well. But if you believe that they're not doing the best that they can, then you might not leave that relationship because you're like, they could do better. I could fix them. I could change them, as opposed to setting a boundary compassionately and leaving and extracting yourself and keeping yourself safe. Like, I think, obviously the victims of, like abuse, let's say, deserve the initial compassion and, and giving credit and help as much as possible first. And then also we can look at the perpetrators and be like, I can understand why this person has, like hurt people, that kind of thing, which doesn't mean become their best friend. And it doesn't mean that you have to or can solve everyone's problems, but from a distance, it can be understandable. So I strive to be compassionate. Have we talked about like the Buddhist definition? I don't know if it's the only one. There's a Buddhist definition of love and a Buddhist definition of compassion. The Buddhist definition of love is when you love someone, you want their happiness to increase. And when you are compassionate towards someone, you want their suffering to decrease. And the goal of Buddhism is the increase of happiness and the decrease of suffering for all sentient beings. The idea that bodhisattvas and Buddhas love every sentient being the same way that a loving mother loves their child. And like, I'm not there. I mean, to answer your question, I'm like,
I'm not there either, but that is the goal. And we got together recently, listeners of the show, the stand-up community, I guess we call ourselves. And yeah, I was asked, and we talk a lot about like what connects us. And I think it is that. I think it is that Buddhist thought, certainly something I practice, which is to try to find joy and ease suffering, not only for ourselves, but for every living thing. And, that is something that's it's a way that is great to be, for lack of real words. And I think it matters. I think it's something I'm glad that you brought it up, because it's something that I certainly practice as well, but it's old. It's an old practice. It's a great principle. It's a great place to be. I want to just take a moment while I'm talking to switch gears a little bit, but still talk about men, and ask you to weigh in on, we've had a lot of talks in the past, and you've talked a lot about this and really explored sex and gender and relationships personally and professionally, or as a student of life, and obviously with comedy. When the news broke of Congressman Eric Swalwell, and then obviously we've been deep in the Epstein stuff, the Me Too movement, we've learned a lot about men. ourselves in the past decade or so, maybe more than we did in the rest of our lives. We learn a lot about, quote, bad men. What do you think is wrong with men and the difference between men in power and, say, women in power? It's so easy and sounds virtuous to be like, it should just be women running the world. But let's be clear, like, it's not women who are shooting up schools and trying to kill the president. If they were, it's not women who are in power who are having sex scandals. Like, it's, by the way, like, never women having sex scandals, almost ever. And so, you know, by the way, that female reporter who had an affair with a football coach, not a scandal, just an affair, right? And there were power dynamics there, by the way. He kept his job, she didn't. But what do you think of those who kind of, during this, especially with the Swalwell stuff, and obviously Donald Trump is president, go, you know, all men are bad. They're all borderline rapists or sexually assault, or more importantly, why do men do this and women don't? What's your answer to that, gender-wise, biological, culture? What do you got, Kaplan?
Yeah, I mean, the shortest answer, you know, the Dalai Lama was once asked a question, and he said, the answer is very simple. I don't know. Who am I to be wiser than the Dalai Lama? I'm not, so I'll say more. I mean, but I don't know. But I mean, obviously, it's not, there's no binary answer. There's no yes or no, this or that. So there's some cultural factors, certainly. There's some biological factors, potentially. And I mean, I think to connect the two topics that we've just been talking about, the last thing we were talking about, Buddhism, reminded me, have you heard this thing they say, you're not punished for your anger, you're punished by your anger. Yes. And on the flip side, the positive reverse of that is you're not rewarded for your kindness, you're rewarded by your kindness. You know, like how many times do somebody's like, hey, I got this person a gift, but then they didn't get me a similar gift, or I invited them, but they didn't invite me. Oh yeah. If you're doing it transactionally, you might not be rewarded. But if you're like, oh, I want to be giving, I want to be generous, I want to be loving, I want to be compassionate, that is in a way its own reward that also does often, you know, benefit you as well. So the anger issue is like, men have been socialized with anger as like the main emotion that it's acceptable to share. And there's probably
think anger is an emotion?
I do. I mean,
I don't count it for HR purposes.
Okay.
My old joke was like, you know, when women in the workplace are too emotional, that's why they shouldn't be in the workplace, and that's why they can't climb the ranks. And then you say, but what about men? Men aren't as emotional as women. Like, oh, do you not count anger? Is that not one of the emotions? Because that's
oh yeah, that's really funny. And I could go deeply into like the linguistics of what's going on in this situation, but I'll rein myself in briefly to try to cover the spirit of what we're talking about rather than the letters of all the letters of what we're talking about. But I do think that there's something going on with capitalism as well, which sort of like aligns with the patriarchal concepts that we're talking about, where the idea, like the way that a corporation is, its job is to grow, its job is to get bigger and bigger. And like, you know, you hear about like there's even the nicest billionaires probably like stepped on some people's hopes and dreams and experiences to get where they are, because they're like, oh, eyes on the prize, you know, you gotta get that bag, you know, like make more growth mindset and money and power. And these things are all, I remember seeing a thing, I think it was this guy Douglas something, who's like a science fiction maybe writer, not Douglas Adams, not Douglas Hofstadter, I forget. But I remember seeing a quote online, and I haven't been able to find it since, but the idea of that, like when a forest grows, it doesn't keep growing. It grows to a certain like level, because if the trees kept getting bigger and bigger, then it would block out the sun from like the other flora that were like beneath those trees, which are, it's like a delicate ecosystem where everything depends on each other. And so at a certain point, the same way that our height, you know, to get back to that, our height doesn't get bigger and bigger. A 90-year-old isn't 8 feet tall, because that's at a certain point we reach our full height potential and the forest reaches its full growth potential. But corporations are behaving in this respect quote unquote unnaturally. They're like, want to get bigger and have more sales this year than last year, even if last year was fine, even if last year was the best year that you ever had. And so I think that it's not like a coincidence that, you know, men strive for these like CEO type positions of power, that, you know, that sociopaths gravitate towards these types of positions as like, and so I feel like that would be going down another rabbit hole, but I do think that it's connected to, it's all interdependent, like in our culture, in sort of the whole culture isn't necessarily toxic. There are positive things about capitalism. There are positive aspects, like of, let's just say for masculinity, positive masculinity is using masculinity like to be a protector, to protect, you know, the people that you love, your family, your community, to like the actual, my understanding is the real scientific definition of an alpha is not the animal that like wins all the fights, but the animal that calms down the aggressive would-be.
Of course. Yes. I always want that guy to lead me. A real, you know, there's all kinds of ways to describe what a positive masculinity would be, but to create opportunity because you're a man and you had that opportunity to create it for other people, the role model. The best thing you can do is to role model proper behavior. I certainly haven't done that my whole life, much less even with my own daughters, but that's the goal. Marcus Aurelius, alpha.
Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. And here's maybe one of the like zoomed out like difficulties of this whole thing is like, here's a brief analogy. If you, let's say being loud in a certain situation is not the thing to do, and being quiet is the thing to do. Yeah. Being loud is more visible, more audible, more salient. Like even if there are like, I don't like, just to back to what one thing that you said, like, I don't think that any reasonable, serious person is saying all men are the problem. Like, absolutely. But the ones that are the problem are the loud ones, the ones that are assaulting people, the ones that are harming people in large and damaging ways. And those are like, it's like, if you're like, hey, I want to live my life as a role model, like it's important to obviously speak up when injustice is being done, to speak up when harm is being done. But if at a certain point, fight fire with fire doesn't entirely make sense, because that's not how you fight fire. And so if these men, if the quote unquote bad men, the toxic versions of masculinity, if those are fire, like water is what we need to be, you know, right. like Bruce Lee said, be like water, you know.
I love it. I love what you're saying. It's really interesting to kind of explore capitalism and gender and masculinity and patriarchy and how they kind of feed each other, and the metaphor of anything in nature. I don't know who that guy was, that the quote, but I've been thinking about that a lot when I think about why billionaires should be eaten. And it's because in nature and any other species, if one thing got too big, it would be eaten, or it would die, or it would be isolated. In almost every species, from bacteria to trees to any mammal you pick, it's just the way of the world, except for in humanity. You never see one corn stalk standing way above the other corn stalks. And if you did like, I was leaving that out there for you.
Oh, then you would worship that corn stalk. You would be like, this is our God. This is our corn God. We will all be children of this corn. You know, this is, sorry to be said.
What do you just, closing on men, and go right now, watch Myq's 10-minute special. It's very, very funny. Men.
Yeah. Yeah.
And go watch his special that came out last fall, Rini, which is genius. He's taping a new hour in Minneapolis at the beginning of May, if you're there. And let's just take one man. And I want to get your kind of your description of this guy, your profile of this guy, your feelings about him. And that man is Pete Hegseth.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's a really good example, or maybe not, because it's almost like he's a caricature of an overly masculine man. But he's doing all the stuff, and unfortunately, he's got all the views. And it's crazy to me that he talks about war the way that he does. And it's crazy to me that he acts the way that he does. I didn't think that we would ever get there where a guy like that could be invited to a party. All right. That's a little low. What do you make of a guy like him and his behavior? Because he's obviously not alone. He's got a lot of supporters out there.
He
got kicked out of his own unit in the military by other men.
Wow. I don't know. And you probably know more about him than I do. I mean, I know that he reads fake Bible verses to inspire people, and that real Bible verses would encourage him.
His women is what I know. Like, I think everybody, you read a little bit of like his behavior. Every powerful woman in the military, he's done everything he can to fire them. And don't even get started on race, but just in terms of his kind of, what do you want to say? Sorry.
Yeah, no. Here's an analogy that I like. There was an old Bill Burr joke from many years ago when Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah. Oh, that was a good one. Is Bill Burr here? Oh,
okay. Here comes a Kaplan impression.
I'm not going to do the voice. You did too good. But the idea was Arnold Schwarzenegger had just been found out to have had, I think, an affair with a woman who worked for him, like a housekeeper or a maid, and she had a child, I think.
He's like now a famous bodybuilder, that kid.
Wow. That checks out. And so at that time, I feel like the story that Bill Burr was commenting on was like, how did he think he was going to get away from it? Get away with it? And Bill Burr's bit was, he's like, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I'm just paraphrasing here. He's like, Arnold Schwarzenegger started his life in Austria and was like, I'm going to be the strongest man in the world. And he then became officially the strongest man in the world. And then he moved to America, a place where he doesn't speak the language. And he's like, I'm going to be the biggest movie star in the world. And he became the biggest movie star in the world. And then he's like, then I'm going to be the governor of the 5th largest economy in the world. And he became the governor of California. And he married and all of these things. And so on this issue, hey, I win every time. Just give me the rock. I'm going to put it in the hole. And so I feel like that, like for me, here's my version of that. Like, I've been very fortunate in comedy. I got to do like Live at Gotham on Comedy Central in 2008. I got to do Conan's Tonight Show in 2009. I got to tape a half-hour Comedy Central special that came out in 2010 and do Last Comic Standing. I got to do an hour special that was on Netflix in 2014. I'm like, wow, what's next? A 2-hour special? A 4-hour special? An infinite special? At a certain point, the forest of my career there's still room for growth. Like, I haven't reached the heights of Kevin Hart, except literally I tower over him. But I tower over him by 2 inches, I think. And I've been enjoying his new show. We don't have to get into it. But the point is, I understand that when men, here's like one additional analogy. I know you said in closing, but too bad. I'm the captain of this. I'm the Kaplan now. There's this analogy I heard years ago, like this isn't even an analogy. This is a true story of 2 transgender professors, one who was socialized male and, assigned male at birth, one assigned female at birth, and they both transitioned. And now, so they both lived their professional adult life as presenting as both genders, both male and female of those 2. And both of them reported, whether cisgender or transgender, that they received more like pushback and misogyny and people talking over them as a woman, which is pretty affirming for the trans woman, but not ideal. But the analogy that they offered was like, in this article, was that it's like there's a current that men are swimming with and women are swimming against, and you can be swimming that's why, like, literally you have to, metaphorically, swim like twice as hard if you are a marginalized person, if you are not in the dominant culture. If the current's not working with you, it's working against you. And most people, if you only live life as one gender, you don't know. A man can do something not as well as a woman, be rewarded more for it, and therefore think he's better at it. And that is what happened to Pete Hegseth. He is a man in our society that even when things aren't going like, well, if he's getting kicked out of things, he's probably in his mind, he's like, because I'm too much of a man, because I'm winning too much. They don't want me around because I'm whatever, I could speculate and imagine, like, I don't know his whole life story, but I could see himself mentally being like that Arnold Schwarzenegger, mentally just being like, what I think is right. He is not seemingly exploring himself, because there's certainly things under the surface that are going on about his security, his insecurity, his self-consciousness that are manifesting. Like, he's like the avatar of hurt people. Like, it's impossible to imagine that his childhood was happy. And so he developed this hard armored shell, like essentially doing drag, the thing that he would hate the most. He's like, this is a man. This is what a man does. A man is a man.
Drag. He's in drag. That's a perfectly, I like that. I think that's, By the way, you said hurt people now twice without saying not always.
Absolutely. Yes. It is not that all hurt people, but is that when people hurt people, it is often because they have been hurt themselves. Great addition.
It's also because I say that also because I know a lot of people we've all been hurt people, but if we're talking about like serious childhood drama and stuff, I think that it's important to give credit to those who are able to identify it and cope with it and hopefully find solutions for it, and not necessarily continue such behaviors.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Many people break the cycle. Some hurt people help themselves and then heal themselves and then help people. Many hurt people help people.
I'm the Kaplan now. So here's my final question, which is to some, it sounds controversial, but I do want to ask you, I think you're a smart guy. Do you think women should vote?
I'm going to take a controversial stance on this and say I think only women should vote, and the non-binary, only non-men for a while. Like, look, it was only men for a while. So to even it out, to be fair, if you care about fairness and egalitarianism and justice, like for, at least for our country started in, 1776 thereabouts. And then it was only like around 1920-ish that women started voting. So it was over 100 years. Let's just round it to the next 100 years, no men voting.
I constantly, and don't spend a lot of time in it because it's such a fool's errand, do the what if. And of course, Al Gore beats George W. Bush, but Hillary Clinton wins in 2016 or Kamala Harris wins. Like, what an unbelievably different America and world we would be in for so many obvious reasons, that things that wouldn't have happened, including every war and every Supreme Court justice that have making these horrific decisions, sending us as far backward as they possibly can before they breathe their final breath. And
I'll just say briefly, that makes a lot of sense to think about briefly. And I think I'm sadly going to be quoting Cheney here. But you go to world with the world that you have, Rumsfeld. That's right. I knew it was one of those. Yeah.
Your project for New Americans.
All men are the same to me. So yeah.
All neocons.
Yeah.
Not all the same, because some of those guys are like, I got up and left restaurant where Bill Kristol was seated next to me because I was so disgusted. And now he's like, he's on the bulwark and he's like, he's the anti-Trumper. I mean, that's the same with a few of those neocons.
And this is
and John Bolt.
It's because, you know what it's like? It's like in the Fast and Furious movies where Jason Statham, the first time he appears, is their enemy. But then in the next movie, they have a shared enemy. So now he's their friend. But in reality, like, this is the truth of the non-binary nature of reality, that it isn't like, I love Dan Savage. I think you've been on his podcast. Like, he's my favorite. And he often talks about, as a gay man who voted for Obama in 2008, even though at that time Obama and every major candidate was publicly against gay marriage. He's like, I believe that, this is the best person for the country, the world, my community, even though he's saying, like, he isn't saying everything that I want him to. And eventually, obviously, under his reign, things did progress in that direction. And he often talks about, like, then how do we want people to change their minds. We want people who thought harmful things before to think, hey, I don't think that anymore, and I'd like to make meaningful progress. Yeah.
Lots of answers. We'll continue with the questions. This has been a Myq Kaplan interview. Myq is got a new special. His 10-minute Don't Tell comedy set just came out. You just go watch it, and it's only 10 minutes. It's Men v. Men. It's great. So many laughs. The man is as respected as any other comic I know by his peers. Just a great guy. And he's got a new special he'll be taping in May in Minnesota. If you're out there, one of the best comedy clubs, probably the best one I've ever performed of outside of New York. Acme Comedy Club, May 6th through 9th, and follow him on the Instagram and the threads. He's great on the threads. I love the threads myself. The TikTok, the Facebook. Thank you.
Thank you, Pete. It's
as always.
Always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right, there he goes. Myq Kaplan, JL Cauvin. Be sure to support both them, and thank you for supporting me. Patreon.com/Pete Dominick. Support Jon Carroll, johncarroll.org, and all of our rest of our creative members of the stand-up community you can get to through the show links and every day's show. You're a bumblebee. You listen to both these all the way through, and maybe my conversation earlier with Atima Omara. Man, you are a VIP. Very, very grateful. Thank you. Hope you took as much from it as I did, and I will talk to you tomorrow.
Challenge, let the meek weak flee. Oh, you better stand up. When you're tired of begging, saying pretty please, that's the time you gotta finally get up on your knees. When you can't see the forest for the burning trees, you got to stand up. Hey, you've been sitting so long, you got the creaky knees, you got to stand up. Stand up. I think you're driving wheels been leaking grease. Boy, you better stand up. Stand up. Well, there's a whole lot more of us who know what's right. They'll keep right on ignoring us if we keep sitting tight. You got to open up the window to let in some light. You got to